The reading of my father's will was held in a small conference room at a law firm in Billings, Montana, the kind of place with beige walls and uncomfortable chairs and the smell of old paper and older secrets. I sat on one side of the table, my sister Chloe sat on the other, and between us, a lifetime of competition, resentment, and the quiet, crushing knowledge that my father had never believed I was good enough. The lawyer, a tired man named Mr. Harrison, opened the leather folder, cleared his throat, and delivered the words that would change everything. To my daughter Chloe, who worked alongside me for 15 years, who never complained, who understood the land and the cattle and the business, I leave the ranch in its entirety, all 4,000 acres, all the equipment, all the livestock, and all the assets associated therewith. He paused, looked at me, looked back at the document. To my daughter Harper, who chose a different path, who left the ranch and never looked back, I leave my pickup truck, a 1998 Ford F-150, and my sincere wish that she finds happiness in the life she built for herself. My name is Harper Ryan Walsh. I'm 34 years old, and for my entire life, my father made it clear that I was the disappointment, the one who left, the one who abandoned the family legacy to chase a career in finance, while my sister stayed, worked, sacrificed, and earned the right to inherit everything he had built. He wasn't wrong about the facts. I did leave, I did build a different life. I did choose spreadsheets over soil, boardrooms over barns, but I also loved him. I also visited when I could. I also called every Sunday, and I also hoped, foolishly perhaps, that he might see me, might value me, might leave me something more than a truck that had been rusting in the field for 3 years. Before I tell you what happened next, before I tell you about the phone call from Chloe's lawyer, about the audit that exposed everything, about the moment my sister's firm lost it all, and she came crawling back to me, I need you to do something. Hit like if you've ever been the child who is never enough. Subscribe if you believe that success is the best revenge, and drop a comment with your location and local time. I want to know where the survivors are watching from tonight. Let me take you back to the ranch, the Flying W, for 1,000 acres of Montana heaven, rolling hills and grazing cattle, and the kind of silence that wraps around you like a blanket. My great-grandfather had bought the land in 1922, had built the barn with his own hands, had started the herd with 12 head of cattle and a dream. 3 generations had worked that land, fed that land, died on that land, and my father, Richard Walsh, had expected me to be the 4th. But I was never good at ranching, not the way Chloe was. She could rope a calf before she could ride a bike, could read the weather in the clouds, could tell you which cow was about to calve just by looking at her. She loved the land the way our father loved it, with a passion that bordered on obsession, with a commitment that never wavered, with a certainty that I could never quite muster. I was good at numbers, good at patterns, good at seeing the connections that other people missed. I took apart the toaster when I was 7 and put it back together, took apart the tractor engine when I was 12 and put it back together, took apart the ranch finances when I was 16 and showed my father where he was losing money. He didn't thank me, didn't listen, didn't even look at the spreadsheets I had spent weeks preparing. He just said, "Stick to what you know, Harper, and what you know is not this." So I left. I went to college on a scholarship, studied finance, graduated with honors, took a job at an investment firm in Seattle, worked my way up from analyst to portfolio manager, made money, good money, the kind of money that could have bought and sold the Flying W 10 times over, but I never told my father that, never showed him the balance sheets, never asked for his approval, because I knew what he would say. Money isn't everything, Harper, land is everything, legacy is everything. Family is everything, and you left all of it behind. Chloe called me after the will reading. Her voice was different, not triumphant, not gloating, but tired, heavy, burdened by the weight of the inheritance she had fought for and finally won. "Harper, I know you're upset. I know you think Dad was unfair, but he did what he thought was right. He did what he thought was best for the ranch." "I'm not upset, Chloe. I'm not surprised. I've known my whole life that he didn't value me, that he didn't see me, that he didn't think I was worthy. This is just confirmation, nothing more." "That's not true. He loved you. He just didn't understand you. He didn't understand the path you chose." "He didn't try to understand, Chloe. He never asked, never listened, never wanted to know. He just judged, just dismissed, just wrote me off, and now he's written me out of the will. And I have to live with that, but I don't have to pretend it's okay, because it's not okay, it will never be okay." "What are you going to do now?" "I'm going back to Seattle, back to my life, back to the world I built, the world he refused to see, And I'm going to forget that I ever had a father who thought I was worth nothing more than a rusted pickup truck. I hung up, packed my bags, and drove away from the ranch for the last time, or so I thought. 6 months passed. I threw myself into my work, managing portfolios, analyzing markets, making money for clients who trusted me with their futures. I was good at my job, respected, sought after, and I told myself that this was enough, that success was enough, that money was enough, that I didn't need my father's approval or my sister's validation or the ranch that had never felt like home. But at night, alone in my Seattle apartment, I couldn't escape the feeling that something was missing, that I was running from something I couldn't outrun, that the anger and resentment I had buried so deep were beginning to surface, demanding to be felt, demanding to be acknowledged, demanding to be released. My therapist, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chin, who specialized in family trauma and sibling rivalry, helped me see that my father's rejection had shaped every decision I had made since I left the ranch, the need to prove myself, the fear of failure, the relentless drive to succeed. All of it was a reaction to his dismissal. All of it was an attempt to earn the approval I had never received. You're not angry at your father because he left you out of the will, Harper. You're angry because he never saw you, never valued you, never believed that you were worthy of his love. And the will is just the final proof, the final confirmation, the final nail in the coffin of your hope that he might one day change. So what do I do? How do I let go of something that's been with me my whole life, that's shaped who I am, that's driven every choice I've made? You don't let go, Harper. You integrate. You take the pain and you make it part of your story, but not the whole story. Just a chapter that has shaped you but does not define you. You are not your father's rejection. You are not your sister's inheritance. You are not the ranch. You are Harper Walsh, and you have built a life that is yours, that is worthy, that is enough. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to trust that healing was possible, wanted to let go of the anger that had been my companion for so long, but the anger was comfortable, familiar, a warm blanket on a cold night, and I wasn't sure I knew who I would be without it. The phone call came on a Tuesday. Chloe's lawyer, a man named Mr. Sterling. His voice was tight, professional, but underneath it, something else, something that sounded like desperation. Ms. Walsh, I'm afraid I have some difficult news. Your sister's firm, the one that managed the ranch's assets, has been audited by the state, and the results are concerning. There appear to be irregularities, discrepancies, evidence of mismanagement, possibly fraud. What kind of fraud, Mr. Sterling? Funds that should have been in the ranch's accounts appear to have been diverted elsewhere. We're talking about millions of dollars, Ms. Walsh. The ranch is insolvent. The creditors are calling, and your sister is facing potential criminal charges. I sat in my office, the phone pressed to my ear, the world outside my window continuing to spin, indifferent to the bomb that had just been dropped on my family. Where is Chloe now? She's at the ranch. She's not taking calls, not answering the door. We're concerned about her. We thought you might be able to reach her, might be able to talk some sense into her, might be able to help. Help, Mr. Sterling. You want me to help the sister who inherited everything while I got a rusted truck, the sister who spent 15 years working the land my father thought I wasn't good enough for, the sister who is now facing fraud charges because she couldn't manage the very assets she was supposed to protect? Ms. Walsh, I understand your anger. I understand your resentment. But the ranch is in danger. Your father's legacy is in danger, and you may be the only one who can save it. I didn't go to the ranch right away, not because I didn't care, but because I needed time to think, to process, to decide whether I wanted to save a place that had never wanted me. My father had made his choice, had left everything to Chloe, had made it clear that I was not worthy of the land, the cattle, the legacy, and now, when that legacy was crumbling, when the ranch was on the brink of collapse, his lawyer was calling me, begging me to intervene, to save what he had refused to share. The irony was so thick I could taste it. I called Dr. Chun, my therapist. She answered on the second ring, her voice calm, steady, the anchor I had been clinging to through the storms of the past 6 months. Harper, you sound upset. What's happened? The ranch is in trouble. Chloe's firm mismanaged the assets. There's fraud, maybe criminal charges, and the lawyer wants me to come save it, to clean up the mess my father left behind. How do you feel about that? Angry, resentful, vindicated, scared, all of it. I spent my whole life trying to prove that I was worthy, that I was enough, and now they need me. Now they're coming to me with their hands out, and I don't know if I want to help. I don't know if I should help. What would helping mean for you? What would it cost you? What would it give you? It would mean going back to a place that rejected me, facing the ghosts of a childhood spent feeling invisible, dealing with my sister who has always been the favorite and who now needs me to rescue her. It would cost me time, energy, peace, and it would give me, I don't know, maybe closure, maybe revenge, maybe the chance to prove that I was always enough, that my father was wrong, that I could have saved the ranch if he had let me. Those are powerful motivations, Harper. But are they enough? Are they healthy? Will they help you heal? Or will they just drag you back into the family drama that has caused you so much pain? I didn't have an answer, not then, not in that moment, but I knew that I couldn't stay in Seattle, couldn't hide in my apartment, couldn't pretend that the ranch wasn't calling to me, demanding that I finally face the ghosts I had been running for my whole life. I flew to Montana the next morning. The flight was short, 2 hours, but it felt like a lifetime, like I was traveling back through the years, back to the girl who had left the ranch with nothing but a scholarship and a dream, back to the father who had watched her go without a word, back to the sister who had stayed and inherited everything. The rental car was small, practical, nothing like the trucks I had grown up driving. I drove through the familiar landscape, the rolling hills, the grazing cattle, the wide Montana sky, and I felt something stir in my chest, something I hadn't felt in years, something that felt like belonging, or maybe just nostalgia, or maybe just the ache of a wound that had never properly healed. She stepped aside, let me in. The house was dark, the curtains drawn, the furniture covered in dust. She led me to the kitchen, the same kitchen where we had eaten breakfast as children, where our mother had made pancakes on Sunday mornings, where our father had sat at the head of the table, reading the paper, ignoring us unless we did something wrong. I hired a firm to manage the ranch's finances after Dad died. I was overwhelmed. There was so much to do, so many decisions to make, and I thought I needed help. I thought I couldn't do it alone. What firm, Chloe? What was the name? Sterling and Associates. The same firm that handled Dad's legal work. I thought I could trust them. I thought they had Dad's best interests at heart, but they were stealing from us, Harper. They were diverting funds, taking fees that weren't authorized, investing in things that didn't exist, and I didn't notice, I didn't check, I didn't question, I just trusted them because that's what Dad did, because that's what he taught me to do. How much, Chloe? How much did they take? Almost $3 million. The ranch is leveraged to the hilt. The bank is calling in the loans, and if we can't pay, they'll foreclose. We'll lose everything. The land, the cattle, the house, everything Dad spent his life building. She started crying, not the pretty crying of a woman who wanted sympathy, but the ugly crying of someone who had reached the end of their rope and was hanging on by her fingernails. I'm sorry, Harper. I'm so sorry. I was so sure that I could do it, that I could be the one Dad trusted, that I could carry on his legacy, but I couldn't. I failed, and now I'm going to lose everything, and it's all my fault. I didn't comfort her, didn't put my arm around her, didn't tell her it would be okay, because I wasn't sure it would be, because I wasn't sure I wanted it to be, because some part of me, the part that had been wounded by my father's rejection, wanted to see her fail, wanted to see the golden child crumble, wanted to watch the ranch that had been denied to me slip through her fingers. But another part of me, the part that remembered sharing a room with her, playing in the hayloft, riding our horses across the fields, that part wanted to help, wanted to save the ranch, wanted to prove that I was worthy, even if my father had never believed it. I spent the next week digging through the ranch's financial records, spreadsheets, bank statements, loan documents, tax returns, receipts, invoices, anything I could find. I worked from dawn until dusk, fueled by coffee and anger, and a desperate need to understand what had happened and whether it could be undone. The fraud was worse than Chloe had described. Sterling and Associates hadn't just taken fees. They had created shell companies, forged signatures, taken out loans in the ranch's name without authorization. They had been stealing from my father for years, perhaps decades, and he had never noticed. Or maybe he had noticed and chosen not to see, because seeing would have meant admitting that he had trusted the wrong people, that he had made a mistake, that he wasn't as infallible as he pretended to be. I called Mr. Sterling. His voice was smooth, oily. The voice of a man who had spent his life lying and had gotten so good at it that he believed his own lies. Ms. Walsh, I assure you, everything was done above board. Your sister was fully informed of all transactions. She signed all the documents. She approved all the fees. My sister signed documents she didn't read, Mr. Sterling. She trusted you because my father trusted you, and you took advantage of that trust. You stole from my family, and I'm going to prove it. You're welcome to try, Ms. Walsh, but I have the documents, I have the signatures, I have the notarized authorizations. Your sister proved everything, and the courts will see that. We'll see, Mr. Sterling, we'll see. I hung up, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. The fight had begun, and I wasn't going to lose. Not this time. Not to him. Not to my father. Not to anyone. I called in favors, colleagues from my finance days, forensic accountants who owed me, lawyers who respected my work. I built a team, a small army of experts who could dissect the fraud, trace the money, and build a case that would stand up in court. Chloe watched from the sidelines, helpless, guilty, ashamed. She didn't interfere, didn't question, didn't offer opinions. She just sat in the corner of the kitchen, drinking coffee, staring at the wall, waiting for me to save her. Why are you doing this, Harper, after everything? After Dad left you nothing, after I got everything? Why are you helping me? I'm not helping you, Chloe. I'm helping the ranch. I'm helping the land. I'm helping the legacy that our great-grandfather built. The legacy that Dad almost destroyed with his pride and his blindness. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me, because I need to prove that I could have saved it, that I was always enough, that Dad was wrong about me. I never thought he was right, Harper. I never thought you were less than me. I stayed and you left, and that was the only difference. Not talent, not skill, not worth, just geography, just timing, just the accident of who happened to be standing where when Dad needed someone. It didn't feel like an accident, Chloe. It felt like a judgment. It felt like he looked at both of us and decided that I wasn't worthy, that I didn't deserve the land, that I didn't deserve his love, and you did. I'm sorry, Harper. I'm sorry for not fighting for you, for not telling Dad he was wrong, for not sharing what was given to me. I was selfish. I was scared. I was so worried about losing what I had that I didn't see what you had lost, what you had never had. The forensic audit took 3 months. 3 months of digging, of analyzing, of depositions, of legal battles. 3 months of living in the ranch house, of waking up to the smell of coffee and hay and the distant lowing of cattle, of falling asleep to the sound of the wind and the creak of the old house settling into the earth. I learned things about my father that I hadn't known, about his finances, his debts, his secrets. He had been borrowing against the ranch for years, using it as collateral for loans he couldn't repay, gambling on investments that didn't pan out, trusting people who were not trustworthy. He had been a good rancher, a good steward of the land, but he had been a terrible businessman, and his pride had prevented him from asking for help, from admitting that he didn't know everything, from letting anyone see his weaknesses. Chloe had inherited not just the ranch, but the debts, the obligations, the secrets, and she had been drowning, slowly, silently, too ashamed to admit that she couldn't keep her head above water, too proud to call me, too scared to ask for help. Why didn't you tell me, Chloe? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you let me help? Because I wanted to prove that I could do it alone, that I was the one Dad trusted, that I was worthy of the inheritance. And if I asked for help, especially from you, it would mean admitting that I wasn't enough, that Dad had chosen wrong, that I was just as much a disappointment as he thought you were. He didn't think I was a disappointment, Chloe. He just didn't understand me, didn't see me, didn't value what I had to offer. But that doesn't mean I wasn't enough. That doesn't mean I wasn't worthy. That doesn't mean I didn't deserve his love. I know that now, Harper, I know that now, but it took almost losing everything to see it. The case against Sterling and Associates went to trial. The evidence was overwhelming. The forensic accountants had traced the money. The lawyers had deposed the witnesses. The notaries had admitted to forging signatures, and the jury, after deliberating for 3 days, returned a verdict of guilty on all counts. Mr. Sterling was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. His assets were frozen. His firm was dissolved, and the court ordered him to pay restitution to the ranch, to my father's estate, to the victims of his fraud. But the money was gone, spent, hidden, laundered, and the restitution was a hollow victory, a promise without a guarantee. The ranch was still in debt, still leveraged, still at risk of foreclosure, and I was the only one who could save it, not because I had to, not because I was obligated, but because I wanted to, because the land had called to me, because the legacy had become mine, because I was finally ready to claim what my father had denied me. I offered to buy out the debt, to use my own money, the money I had earned in Seattle, the money my father had dismissed, the money that was now the only thing standing between the ranch and the auction block. Chloe resisted. At first, she didn't want to owe me, didn't want to admit that she couldn't do it alone, didn't want to accept help from the sister she had been pitted against her whole life. I can't take your money, Harper. I can't let you buy the ranch out from under me. It's mine. It's all I have. It's not about taking, Chloe. It's about partnership, about co-ownership, about running the ranch together, the way we should have been doing all along. Dad pitted us against each other, made us compete for his approval, but that's over now. He's gone, and we're the only ones left, the only ones who can carry on his legacy, the only ones who can save this land. You want to co-own the ranch with me? After everything? I want to save the ranch, Chloe, and you're my sister, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not. We're family, and family doesn't let family lose everything, even when everything includes the inheritance that should have been shared from the beginning. The papers were signed on a Friday, the same Friday my father had been buried 6 months earlier. The irony was not lost on me, nor on Chloe, who sat across from me at the lawyer's table, her eyes red, her hands shaking, signing away half of the inheritance she had fought so hard to keep, the inheritance that had cost her our relationship, our trust, our shared history. You're sure about this, Harper? You're sure you want to do this? Once you sign, there's no going back. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Chloe. This land has been in our family for 100 years, and I'm not going to let it be sold to strangers because our father was too proud to ask for help and you were too proud to admit you couldn't do it alone. I'm sorry, Harper. I'm sorry for everything, for the way I treated you, for the way I let Dad pit us against each other, for the way I accepted everything and never once asked if you deserved half. I don't want half, Chloe. I want partnership. I want collaboration. I want to work together to save this ranch. Not because we have to, but because we want to, because it's ours, because it's always been ours, even when Dad pretended it wasn't. She signed, I signed, the lawyer witnessed, the notary stamped, and just like that, the Flying W Ranch was no longer Chloe's alone. It was ours, mine and hers. Two sisters who had been divided by their father's favoritism and reunited by their mother's land. I moved into the ranch house that weekend, not permanently, but for the foreseeable future. There was too much work to be done, too many decisions to make, too many fires to put out. To commute from Seattle, I set up my office in the room that had once been my father's study, pushing aside his old papers, his old books, his old memories, making space for my own. Chloe watched me unpack, watched me arrange my desk, watched me hang my diplomas on the wall where his had hung for 30 years. She didn't say anything, didn't object, didn't complain. She just watched, her expression unreadable, her posture stiff, her hands clasped in front of her like she was holding herself back from saying something she might regret. You don't have to stay, you could go back to Seattle, manage the finances from there. I could run things here. We could work remotely. I know I could, Chloe, but I don't want to. I want to be here. I want to see the land, smell the air, hear the cattle. I want to understand what Dad loved about this place, what he was willing to sacrifice everything for, including his relationship with me. He did love you, Harper. He just didn't know how to show it. He was raised by a man who didn't show emotion, who didn't express affection, who believed that providing for your family was the same as loving them, and he passed that on to us. To me, to you, we're all broken, Harper. We're all just doing the best we can with the tools we were given. I know, Chloe, I know, but knowing doesn't make it hurt less, doesn't make the years of feeling invisible disappear, doesn't make up for the birthdays he forgot, the achievements he dismissed, the love he withheld. Then let's make new memories, Harper. Let's build something new, something better, something that honors Dad's legacy without being trapped by his limitations. The first order of business was the debt. The bank was demanding payment, threatening foreclosure, and we had 30 days to come up with almost $2 million, money we didn't have, money we couldn't borrow, money that seemed impossible to find. I called my contacts in Seattle, investors who had trusted me with their portfolios, who had made millions off my advice, who owed me favors, who might be willing to take a chance on a struggling ranch in Montana. Harper, it's good to hear from you. We miss you at the firm. When are you coming back? I don't know, Tom. Maybe never. I'm working on a family project, the ranch I grew up on. It's in trouble, and I need to find investors, people who are willing to put money into the land, into the cattle, into the future of Montana ranching. That's a tough sell, Harper. Ranching is a dying industry. The margins are thin, the risks are high, the returns are uncertain. Why would anyone invest in that when they could put their money in tech or real estate or any number of safer bets? Because it's not just about the money, Tom. It's about the land, the legacy, the way of life. There are people out there who care about that, who want to preserve it, who are willing to take a risk to protect something that matters. Maybe, Harper, but I don't know any of them. Not personally, but I'll put the word out, see if anyone bites. No promises, but I'll try. I hung up, frustrated, discouraged, but not defeated. I had faced long odds before, had overcome obstacles that seemed insurmountable, had built a career from nothing, and I wasn't about to let the ranch slip through my fingers because a few wealthy investors couldn't see past their spreadsheets. Chloe had her own ideas about how to save the ranch, not through investors, not through debt, but through the land itself. She wanted to diversify, to add new revenue streams, to stop relying solely on cattle, and start exploring other options. We could open the ranch to tourists, hunters, fishermen, people who want to experience Montana, who want to stay on a working ranch, who are willing to pay for the privilege. That would require investment, Chloe, buildings, staff, marketing, money we don't have. We could start small, a few cabins, a website, word of mouth. We don't need a lot of money to get started. We just need a little, and we have the land, the location, the history. That's worth something. That's worth a lot. You've been thinking about this, haven't you? You've been planning, dreaming, imagining a future for the ranch that's different from the past. I've had a lot of time to think, Harper, sitting in this house, watching the money drain away, watching the bank circle like a vulture. I had to imagine something different, something better, something that could save us, because the alternative was too painful to consider. Show me your plans, Chloe. Show me what you've been working on. Let me see if we can make this work. She spread the papers across the kitchen table, drawings, sketches, lists, budgets, projections. She had been working on this for months, maybe years, dreaming of a future where the ranch wasn't just surviving, but thriving, where the land was preserved, where the legacy continued, where the Flying W became a destination, not just a piece of property. I studied her plans, impressed by her vision, her passion, her commitment. She had always been the one who stayed, the one who worked the land, the one who understood the rhythms of the ranch, and now she had ideas, big ideas, ideas that could save us, if we could find the money to implement them. This is good, Chloe, really good. You've done your homework, you've thought about the costs, the timelines, the potential returns. This isn't just a dream, it's a plan, a real plan, one that could work. I know it could work, Harper, I know it, but I can't do it alone. I need your help, your connections, your expertise, your money. I need you to believe in this as much as I do. I do believe in it, Chloe, I do, but belief isn't enough. We need capital. We need investors. We need people who are willing to take a chance on us, on the ranch, on the future of Montana ranching. Then find them, Harper. Use your contacts, your network, your reputation. Find the people who will see what we see, who will believe what we believe, who will invest in our vision, not just for the money, but for the land, the legacy, the way of life. I spent the next 2 weeks on the phone, calling everyone I knew, everyone who had ever trusted me, everyone who owed me a favor. I pitched the ranch, the vision, the future. I told them about the land, the cattle, the history, the potential. I told them about Chloe, about her passion, her commitment, her plan, and slowly, gradually, I started to get interest, nibbles, leads, people who wanted to learn more, who wanted to see the ranch for themselves, who were willing to consider an investment. A man named David Chun, a tech entrepreneur from San Francisco, was the first to bite. He was young, wealthy, looking for something meaningful to do with his money, something that wasn't just about returns, but about impact, about legacy, about making a difference. I've always loved Montana, Harper, the open spaces, the clean air, the sense of freedom. I've been looking for a way to invest in that, to preserve it, to make sure it doesn't disappear, and your ranch, your vision, it sounds like exactly what I've been searching for. You should come see it, David. You should see the land, the cattle, the house. You should meet my sister, hear her passion, her commitment, her plan, and then you should decide if this is something you want to be part of. I'd like that, Harper. I'd like that very much. When can I come? Next week I'll send you the details, and David, thank you. Thank you for listening, for considering, for giving us a chance. David arrived on a Tuesday. The sky was clear. The sun was bright. The ranch looked beautiful. The hills were green. The cattle were grazing. The house was welcoming, and Chloe, despite her nerves, was warm, gracious, and passionate. I gave David the tour, showed him the land, the barns, the corrals, the pastures. I introduced him to the foreman, the cowboys, the hands. I showed him the books, the projections, the plans, and then I let Chloe take over, let her share her vision, her passion, her commitment to the ranch, and the future she imagined. They talked for hours in the kitchen, on the porch, walking through the fields. I watched from a distance, hopeful, anxious, praying that this would work, that David would see what we saw, that he would believe in us, that he would invest in our future. At the end of the day, David sat on the porch, looking out at the sunset, the sky on fire with oranges and pinks and purples, the cattle lowing in the distance, the world quiet and still. "I'm in, Harper, I'm in. I'll invest the money you need, not as a loan, but as a partnership. I want to be part of this, part of the ranch, part of your vision, not just as an investor, but as a partner, as someone who cares about the land, the legacy, the future." "Are you sure, David? Are you sure you want to do this? It's a risk, a big risk, and there's no guarantee you'll ever see your money again." "I know, Harper, I know, but some things are worth the risk. Some things are worth believing in, and this ranch, this land, this family, it's worth it. I can feel it, and I'm not going to let fear stop me from being part of something meaningful." The money was wired into the ranch's account the following week, almost $2 million, enough to pay off the debt, to make the improvements, to fund the vision that Chloe and I had built together. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for months, the fear that I would lose the land, the legacy, the future, began to lift, replaced by something else, something that felt like hope, like possibility, like a second chance. Chloe cried when I told her, not the ugly crying of despair, but the grateful crying of relief, of gratitude, of amazement that we had actually pulled it off, that we had saved the ranch, that we had proven everyone wrong, including our father. "We did it, Harper, we actually did it. We did it, Chloe, together, the way we should have been doing it all along." "I'm sorry, Harper. I'm sorry for all the years I let Dad come between us, for all the years I accepted his favoritism without question, for all the years I didn't fight for you, for our relationship, for our shared future. I'm sorry too, Chloe, for leaving, for not looking back, for not staying in touch, for not fighting for you, for letting my anger and resentment build walls between us that neither of us knew how to tear down. Then let's tear them down now, Harper. Let's start over. Let's build something new, something better, something that honors Dad's legacy without being trapped by his limitations. Let's be sisters, not rivals, partners, not competitors, family, not strangers." We hugged, the first real hug we had shared in years, and I felt something shift, something heal, something open, and I knew, in that moment, that we were going to be okay, that the ranch was going to be okay, that the future was bright, not because we had money, not because we had investors, but because we had each other, because we had finally learned that family was not about competition, but about collaboration, not about winning, but about sharing, not about being the favorite, but about being there for each other, no matter what. The months that followed were a blur of construction and planning and hard work, the kind of work that left you exhausted at the end of the day but satisfied, fulfilled, connected to the land in a way I had never experienced before. David's money had paid off the debt, but it had also funded the improvements that Chloe had dreamed of: new cabins for the tourists, a renovated main house, a website that showcased the beauty of the ranch and the history of our family. I worked alongside Chloe every day, mending fences, herding cattle, cleaning cabins, answering emails, doing whatever needed to be done. I learned things I had never known about the land, about the animals, about the rhythms of ranch life. I learned to read the weather in the clouds, to diagnose a sick calf by its cough, to fix a tractor engine with nothing but a wrench and a prayer. I learned that my father had been right about one thing: the land was worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for, worth loving. But I also learned that my father had been wrong about many things, wrong that I couldn't handle the work, wrong that I didn't love the land, wrong that I was not worthy of the legacy. I had proven him wrong, not by leaving and building a successful career, but by coming back and doing the work, the hard work, the dirty work, the work that never ends and never fully satisfies but somehow mysteriously makes you whole. Chloe noticed the change in me, the softening, the opening, the willingness to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to admit when I didn't know something. She teased me about it, gently, lovingly, the way sisters do. "Who are you, and what have you done with my sister? The one who never got her hands dirty, who never broke a nail, who never stayed in Montana longer than a long weekend?" "She's still here, Chloe. She's just learned that there's more to life than spreadsheets and stock options, that there's something sacred about the land, something healing about the work, something redemptive about coming home. Dad would be proud of you, Harper, if he could see you now, if he could see what you've done, what you've become. He would be proud." "I don't know if he would, Chloe. I don't know if he was capable of being proud of me, of seeing me, of valuing me, but I'm proud of myself, and that's enough. That's more than enough." The tourists started coming in the summer, families from California, couples from New York, solo travelers from Europe, all of them looking for something, an escape, an adventure, a connection to the land that they couldn't find in their cities and their suburbs and their carefully curated lives. We hosted them, fed them, took them on trail rides, taught them to fish, to ride, to rope. We shared our home, our history, our way of life. And in return, they gave us something too: appreciation, validation, the sense that what we were doing mattered, that the ranch was not just a piece of property, but a living, breathing, evolving thing, a legacy that could adapt and grow and survive. The reviews were glowing, 5 stars on every platform. Guests raved about the beauty of the land, the warmth of the hospitality, the authenticity of the experience. We were featured in travel magazines, mentioned on blogs, recommended by influencers. The ranch was becoming a destination, a place that people traveled from around the world to experience. Chloe was thrilled. Her vision was becoming reality. Her dream was coming true, and she was gracious enough to share the credit with me, to acknowledge my role in making it happen, to treat me as a partner, not a benefactor. We did this, Harper, together, the way it should have been all along, the way Dad should have raised us, not as competitors but as collaborators. He did the best he could, Chloe, with what he had, with what he knew. He wasn't a bad man, just a limited one. And we're not limited by his limitations. We can be more, do more, become more, because we're willing to learn, to grow, to change. You've changed, Harper. You're not the woman who left the ranch with a scholarship and a chip on her shoulder. You're softer, kinder, more open. And you've changed too, Chloe. You're not the woman who stayed, who inherited everything, who was drowning in the weight of it. You're stronger, more confident, more willing to ask for help. David visited often, not just as an investor, but as a friend, a partner, a believer in the vision we were building. He came for holidays, for birthdays, for no reason at all, just to be on the land, to feel the sun on his face, to hear the cattle lowing in the distance. He and Chloe grew close, too close. I watched them, watched the way she looked at him, the way he touched her arm, the way they laughed together, and I felt something I hadn't expected: jealousy. Not romantic jealousy, but something else, something deeper, something about being replaced, being pushed aside, being made to feel like an outsider in my own family. But I pushed those feelings down, told myself I was being ridiculous, told myself that Chloe deserved happiness, that David was a good man, that their relationship was none of my business. I smiled, congratulated them, pretended to be happy, even as something inside me withered and died. You're okay with this, Harper, with me and David? You're not upset? Why would I be upset, Chloe? You're both adults. You can make your own decisions. You don't need my permission or my approval. But you introduced us. You brought him into our lives. You made this possible, and I don't want you to feel like you're being pushed aside, like you're losing something. I'm not losing anything, Chloe. I'm gaining something: a sister who is happy, a partner who is committed, a future that is bright. That's not loss. That's gain. That's abundance. That's something to celebrate. You're sure, Harper? You're really sure? I'm sure, Chloe. Now stop worrying about me and go enjoy your boyfriend. You've earned it. You deserve it. And I'm happy for you, truly. But I wasn't happy. Not truly, not deeply, not in the way that mattered. I was going through the motions, pretending to be okay, when inside, I was crumbling. The old wounds had been reopened, the ones my father had inflicted, the sense that I was not enough, not worthy, not deserving of love, and seeing Chloe and David together, seeing them so happy, so connected, so in love, brought those wounds to the surface, raw and bleeding. I threw myself into the work, Harder than before, longer hours, more demanding tasks, anything to distract myself from the ache in my chest. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped talking to Chloe about anything except the ranch. I built walls, higher and thicker than before, and I retreated behind them, alone, in the dark, nursing my wounds and my resentments. Chloe noticed, of course she noticed. She was my sister, she knew me better than anyone, and she could see that something was wrong, even if I wouldn't admit it. Harper, what's going on? You're not yourself, you're distant, cold. You won't talk to me. You won't look at me. You won't even eat dinner with us. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Chloe. I'm just tired. It's a lot of work, running this place, and I'm not as young as I used to be. That's not it, Harper, and you know it. Something is eating at you. Something you're not telling me, and I can't help if you won't talk to me, if you won't let me in. Maybe I don't want your help, Chloe. Maybe I don't want to be saved. Maybe I just want to be left alone, to do my work, to earn my keep, to be useful, and not have to pretend that everything is fine when it's not. What's not fine, Harper? What's not fine? I didn't answer, couldn't answer, wouldn't answer. I just walked away, into the night, into the darkness, into the silence that had always been my refuge and my prison. David found me sitting on the porch. Hours later, the stars were out. The sky was clear. The world was quiet. He sat down next to me, didn't say anything, just sat, his presence a comfort, even if I didn't want it to be. You don't have to talk, Harper. You don't have to explain. You don't have to do anything. I'm just here. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to judge you no matter what you say or don't say. I don't know what's wrong with me, David. I don't know why I'm so angry, so resentful, so afraid. I have everything I ever wanted. The ranch, the partnership, the respect, and yet I feel empty, hollow, like I'm going through the motions, like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Maybe you're not pretending, Harper. Maybe you're becoming. Maybe the person you are right now, the one who is scared and confused and angry, is not the person you will be tomorrow or next week or next year. Maybe you're in transition, in transformation, in the messy middle of becoming someone new, someone you don't recognize yet, someone who is still emerging. I don't like this person, David. I don't like feeling so lost, so uncertain, so out of control. No one does, Harper. No one likes the messy middle, the uncomfortable in-between, the space between who you were and who you're becoming, but that's where growth happens, that's where healing happens, that's where transformation happens, and you can't skip it, you can't avoid it, you have to go through it, feel it, live it, and come out the other side. I sat with his words, let them settle, let them sink in, let them do their work. He was right, of course he was right. The messy middle was where I was. The uncomfortable in-between was where I lived, and I couldn't escape it, couldn't avoid it, couldn't pretend it wasn't happening. The next morning, I apologized to Chloe, not for how I felt, but for how I had treated her, for pushing her away, for building walls, for refusing to let her in. I'm sorry, Chloe. I'm sorry for being so cold, so distant, so closed off. I've been struggling with old wounds, old fears, old patterns, and I took it out on you, and that wasn't fair. You don't have to apologize, Harper. You don't have to explain. You don't have to be anything other than who you are right now in this moment, struggling and scared and uncertain. I love you anyway, and I'm not going anywhere. I don't deserve you, Chloe. I don't deserve your patience, your kindness, your love. That's not for you to decide, Harper. That's for me to give, and I'm giving it freely, without conditions, without expectations, because you're my sister, and I love you, and nothing you do or say can change that. We hugged, longer than before, tighter than before, and I felt something shift, something heal, something open, and I knew that I was going to be okay, that we were going to be okay, that the messy middle would pass, that the uncomfortable in-between would eventually become something else, something more, something beautiful. The ranch continued to thrive. The tourists kept coming, the reviews kept glowing, the bank account kept growing, and Chloe and David's relationship deepened, became more serious, more committed. They talked about marriage, about children, about the future, and I listened, supportive, encouraging, happy for them, even as something inside me ached with a loneliness I couldn't name. I started seeing a therapist again, a new one. A woman named Dr. Maria Reyes, who specialized in family trauma and sibling dynamics. She helped me unpack the years of feeling invisible, the years of competing for my father's approval, the years of resenting my sister for being the favorite, The years of running from the ranch and the family and the pain. You've done the hard work, Harper, the external work, the work of saving the ranch, of building the business, of creating a successful partnership with your sister, but the internal work, the work of healing your heart, of forgiving your father, of releasing the resentment, that work is just beginning. How do I do that, Maria? How do I forgive someone who's not here to apologize, who's not here to make amends, who's not here to ask for forgiveness? You forgive him for yourself, Harper, not for him. You forgive him because holding on to the anger is hurting you, not him. You forgive him because you deserve to be free. You forgive him because the past cannot be changed, but the future can, and you are the one who holds the key to that future. The forgiveness didn't come all at once, not in a flash of lightning or a choir of angels, but slowly, gradually, like the sun rising over the hills, inch by inch, degree by degree, until the darkness was gone and the light had taken its place. I didn't wake up one morning feeling different, feeling healed, feeling whole. I just woke up one morning and realized that the anger was lighter, the resentment was quieter, the pain was more distant. Dr. Reyes said that was how healing worked, not as a destination, but as a journey, not as a single event, but as 1,000 small choices, repeated daily, to let go, to release, to forgive. You're not forgetting, Harper. You're not pretending it didn't happen. You're not excusing what your father did. You're simply releasing the hold it has on you, letting go of the weight you've been carrying, allowing yourself to be free. It doesn't feel like freedom, Maria. It feels like loss, like I'm losing something that has defined me, that has shaped me, that has made me who I am. You're not losing, Harper. You're gaining peace. You're gaining presence. You're gaining the ability to be here, now, in this moment, without the past dragging you down, without the future scaring you away. You're gaining yourself, the self you were before the wound, the self you can be after the healing. I wanted to believe her, wanted to trust that she was right, wanted to step into the person I was becoming, the person who was not defined by her father's rejection, not limited by her sister's favoritism, not trapped by her own anger. I wanted to be free. Chloe and David got married on the ranch, on a Saturday in June, under the big sky, surrounded by family and friends and the cattle and the hills and the memory of our father, who would have loved it, who would have been proud, who would have cried if he had been capable of such vulnerability. I was the maid of honor, a role I had never imagined for myself, a role that required me to stand beside my sister, to support her, to celebrate her, to love her, without resentment, without jealousy, without competition. You look beautiful, Chloe. Dad would be so proud. Do you think so, Harper? Do you think he would have approved of David, of this wedding of us? I think he would have been proud of both of us, of you for staying, for fighting, for never giving up, of me for coming back, for helping, for finding my way home. I think he would have seen, finally, that we are both worthy, both capable, both deserving of his love. I wish he were here, Harper. I wish he could see this, could see us, could see what we've built together. He sees, Chloe. I believe he sees from wherever he is, whatever comes next. I believe he sees, and he's proud, and he's sorry, and he loves us the way he always should have, the way we always deserved. We hugged, tears streaming down both our faces, and I felt something shift, something heal, something open, and I knew that this was what forgiveness looked like, not a single moment, but 1,000 moments, strung together like beads on a necklace, each one a small release, a small surrender, a small step toward freedom. The ceremony was beautiful, simple, elegant. David's family flew in from California. Chloe's friends came from across the country. The ranch hands wore their best boots. The cows lowed in the distance, and the sun set over the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple that took your breath away. I stood at the altar, next to my sister, watching her exchange vows with the man who had saved us, who had believed in us, who had invested in our vision and our future and our love, and I felt something I hadn't expected, joy. Pure, uncomplicated, untainted joy, for her, for him, for us. I love you, Chloe, not because you're perfect, but because you're real, not because you're easy, but because you're worth it, not because I have to, but because I want it every day for the rest of my life. I love you, David, not because you saved us, but because you believed in us, not because you had money, but because you had heart, not because you were a stranger, but because you became family, our family, mine and Harper's and the ranch's. They kissed, the crowd cheered, the music played, and I cried, tears of gratitude, tears of release, tears of hope for the future, a future that included all of us, together, on this land, under this sky, in this life we had built from the ashes of our father's dreams. The reception was held in the barn, festooned with lights and flowers and the laughter of people who loved us, who believed in us, who had supported us through the hard times and were now celebrating the good. I danced with David, with Chloe, with the ranch hands, with the neighbors, with people I had known my whole life and people I had just met. "You look happy, Harper," David said, spinning me across the floor. "Happier than I've ever seen you." "I am happy, David. I didn't think I could be, didn't think I deserved to be, but I am. I'm happy, and it's not because of the money or the ranch or the success. It's because of this moment, this family, this love." "You deserve it, Harper. You deserve to be happy. You've worked for it, fought for it, earned it, and I'm proud of you. Proud to know you. Proud to call you family." "Thank you, David, for everything, for believing in us, for investing in us, for loving my sister, for being the brother I never had." "You don't have to thank me, Harper. I'm the one who should be thanking you for bringing me here, for showing me this place, for introducing me to the woman I love, for giving me a family I never knew I needed." After the reception, after the guests had gone, after the barn was dark and quiet, Chloe and I sat on the porch, the same porch where we had sat as children, watching the stars, listening to the cattle, feeling the weight of the land and the legacy and the love. "We did it, Harper. We actually did it. We saved the ranch. We built a business. We found our way back to each other." "We did, Chloe. We did it together, the way it should have been all along, the way Dad should have raised us, not as competitors, but as collaborators." "Do you think he's watching, Harper? Do you think he sees us, what we've become, what we've built?" "I don't know, Chloe. I don't know if there's an afterlife, if there's a heaven, if there's anything after this. But I like to think that he's watching, that he's proud, that he's sorry, that he loves us, the way he always should have, the way we always deserved." "I miss him, Harper. Even after everything, even after the favoritism, the blindness, the pain, I miss him." "I miss him too, Chloe. I miss the good parts, the parts that were worth missing, the parts that made us who we are, the parts that we can carry with us, even as we let go of the rest." The years passed, the ranch thrived, the tourists kept coming, the reviews kept glowing, the bank account kept growing. Chloe and David had 2 children, a boy and a girl, who called me Aunt Harper and followed me around the ranch, asking questions, learning the land, carrying on the legacy. I never married, never had children, not because I didn't want to, but because I never found the right person, the right time, the right circumstances, and that was okay. I had the ranch, I had my sister, I had her children, I had David, I had a family, not the family I was born into, but the family I had chosen, the family I had built, the family that had saved me and the ranch and the legacy. I visited my father's grave on the anniversary of his death. Every year, I brought flowers, white roses, the ones my mother had loved, the ones that grew in the garden behind the house, and I sat by his headstone, talking to him, telling him about the ranch, about Chloe, about the children, about the life we had built from the ashes of his dreams. "I forgive you, Dad. I forgive you for not seeing me, for not valuing me, for not believing in me. I forgive you for the favoritism, for the blindness, for the pain. I forgive you because I need to be free, and I can't be free if I'm still carrying the weight of your rejection, your disappointment, your failure to love me the way I needed to be loved." I don't know if he heard me, don't know if there's an afterlife, don't know if the dead can listen to the living, but I like to think that he did, that somewhere, somehow, he heard my words, felt my forgiveness, and was finally at peace, the way I was finally at peace. Here's what I want you to know. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, the one who was never enough, the one who was rejected, the one who was pushed aside in favor of a sibling, the one who had to fight for everything they got, hear me. You're not what they said you were. You're not the disappointment, the failure, the invisible child. You're the one who survived, the one who kept going, the one who found a way to forgive, not because they deserved it, but because you deserved peace. And survival is not pretty, it's not clean, it's not a movie where the credits roll and everyone lives happily ever after. Survival is messy. It's years of therapy and healing and learning to trust again. It's forgiving yourself for not being perfect, for not being strong enough, for not being fast enough, for not being enough, It's planting roses in a garden and waiting for them to bloom. It's sitting on a porch and watching the stars and letting go of the weight you've been carrying your whole life. But survival is also yours. No one can take it from you. Not the father who rejected you, not the sibling who was favored, not the world that didn't see you survived, and that is the only victory that matters. I forgave my father, not because he deserved it, not because I had forgotten, but because I was tired of carrying his weight, tired of being defined by his rejection, tired of letting his failure to love me shape my life. Forgiveness was not for him. It was for me. It was the key that unlocked the door I had been trapped behind, the door that led to the ranch, the family, the future. My name is Harper Walsh. I'm 34 years old. I live on the Flying W Ranch in Montana. I have a sister who is also my partner, a brother-in-law who believed in us, 2 nieces who call me Aunt Harper, and a garden full of white roses that bloom every June. I don't have a perfect life. I don't have a happy ending, but I have peace, and peace, I have learned, is the best revenge. The ranch is saved. The legacy continues. The land endures. And I am home. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the child who wasn't enough, if you've ever been rejected by someone who is supposed to love you, if you've ever had to fight for your place in the world, leave a comment. Tell me, what did you survive? Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.